So what defines success for the Chicago Bears in 2024 after getting a rookie quarterback, tons of new offensive weapons, a very solid offensive coordinator, and another solid defense in 2024? We've got a lot to look forward to, and this team should be good on paper. But if things don't go well, whose seat is hot? Matt Eberflus or Ryan Poles? I'm here to break it all down today with special guest Jacob Infante, and excited to do so. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this episode of Just Another Year Chicago Bears. My name is Nick Brody, and as always, thank you for tuning in. Before we begin today's show, I am giving away an autographed Caleb Williams football. In order to enter, make sure you hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and comment if you think that either Matt Eberflus or Ryan Poles is on the hot seat if this season doesn't go well. But also, before we begin today's show, I would like to thank today's sponsor, MyBookie. It's that time of the year again. Football is back, and MyBookie is here to make sure you're ready to cash in on the action. This season, MyBookie is pulling out all the stops for incredible promotions, such as weekly risk-free boost on Thursdays, where you can bet without a sweat. If your bet hits, you win big. And if it doesn't, forget it. MyBookie will refund your wager. It's that simple. But that's just the beginning. MyBookie is giving away hundreds of thousands in prizes to their Super Survivor and Square contest. Get your entries in now for your chance to win huge cash rewards. When you're ready to get started, use my promo code Another Year to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit. You heard that right. Double your money with my promo code Another Year now before you even place a bet. And now, Jacob Infante. And as promised, guys, we have Jacob Infante on tonight. Twitter legend, great guy. Gonna be going through a little bit more about the topic of Matt Eberflus's and Ryan Poles' seat. As even though we're excited about this season, it might get a little bit hot for them. Jacob, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, dude. I'm just excited for football to be here. I mean, I know you're like me, been itching for Bears football for so long. I mean, the preseason's, it's fun, obviously, but there's nothing like, sitting on the couch, just planning your ass down, not moving for 7 hours and, watching the Bears in regular season play. So, I mean, I'm just excited for the season to be here, honestly, more than anything.
Well, Jacob, you teed it up really well. Out of this entire preseason, things have been super exciting, from camp to hard knocks to preseason. What has been by far your favorite moment this entire offseason, if you have one?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd say at least in the preseason, I mean, just seeing the glimpses of what could be. I think that that one deep throw from Caleb Williams to Odunze was like I got chills off of that. And just seeing like some of the flashes that some of the younger guys, like not just Caleb, not just Odunze, but seeing what like Austin Booker could do as well. Seeing him potentially stepping into a bigger role as a rookie than we thought. And, seeing some of the DBs, it's a pretty deep room this year. So I'd say just the youth movement that they have in Chicago right now, just looking at the guys that, all right, I mean, they'll contribute right out of the gate, but this is a flash into what could be. And if the preseason is any indicator, which I mean, not always is, but still could mean that there's a lot to be excited about in Chicago. And I mean, I'm just excited about it, honestly.
I couldn't agree more. I think that this team, I think Ryan Poles did a fantastic job. And I know he's a very big subject of today's episode that I want to go through with you. But I'm excited about just the culture of this team. Like, everyone is behind everybody. Like, if you're going to do things in Chicago, everyone's on the same page here. Everyone wants to win. Everyone knows that they're young, they're fast, and they're good to go. And the first person that comes to mind when it comes to this situation is Matt Eberflus, because of the fact that last year, after week 4, after the Denver Broncos meltdown last year, people were coming for Eberflus, trying to run him out of town. But then he got on a little bit of a winning streak. He won that big Thursday night game, pretty much saved his career as a head coach. Things have been looking for better for Flus. Got the flow going now. Looks like a Greek god. Very handsome looking guy. Yeah. Jacob, to start things off, Eberflus has won 10 games over his 2 years. Obviously not the greatest record, being 10-24, but he's the preseason king. He's only lost one preseason game. What are your thoughts on Matt Eberflus to start things off? Is he on a hot seat right now, or is he safe if this year doesn't go well?
I mean, I think there's no denying that Matt Eberflus is hot, but his seat in general, that was, God, that fucking sucked. Anyway, I think Eberflus' seat is I think it's lukewarm right now. Honestly, I mean, you can't deny the fact that 10 wins in the first 2 years isn't ideal. And you can say whatever you want about, the first year being the rebuild, new regime, bad roster, whatever. Second year, yeah, I definitely agree with you. What you saw down the stretch in that, the second half of the year definitely helped out his stock a little bit. I think it's put up or shut up time for him now. I mean, he's got a much better roster. He doesn't have, at least out of division, you don't have an intensely impossible schedule to work with. You've got a young quarterback. You've got a lot of weapons. You've got a defense that you've invested heavily in. I mean, there really aren't too many excuses. I think that the bar should be over 500. If he doesn't reach over 500, then I think that's probably a sign that, all right, Eberflus isn't the guy. Because even last year with a slightly better roster, you still saw some of the issues with late game management, some of those blown leads where, you get off to a hot start, but you fumble it in one way or another, on either side of the ball. So I think that that's going to be something to watch. And I wouldn't say it's hot right now because clearly they see something in Eberflus to be able to keep him rather than, all right, we have a new quarterback. Let's get a new head coach in there. In theory, that makes sense, but they're sticking with Flus. Clearly they see something in him. I wouldn't say his seat's hot right now, but if he doesn't top that 500 mark, then I certainly think it could be.
So if let's say the Bears go 9-8, because, we have an odd number of games down the schedule, 9-8 probably won't get you the playoffs this year unless everyone else falls apart. We're in a super tough division. You improve, you get 2 more wins than last year. Eberflus last season ended the season, his last 8 games, 5-3 with the number 1 defense across the board, 17th ranked offense. It doesn't matter. Luke Getsy needed to go anyway.
Yeah.
But a lot more weapons, more there. Is 9, you're saying above 500, but 9-8 and no playoffs. Is he still safe, or do you think he's pretty much still on that hot seat?
I'd say he's probably safe. I'd say 9-8 is probably enough to keep his job. 10-7 definitely would be. 9-8, I guess it would just depend on, some of the context. Like, how did you lose some of these games? Is it more the same where you had leads and then you blew it down the stretch, in, absurd fashion? I think it would come down to a lot of the context. But again, if you're trending in the right direction, you win, you go from 3-7, then 7-9. That's still improvement. And the Bears haven't had too many winning seasons over the last few years. I think that they'll look at that and say, all right, this is pretty good. And even if we didn't light the world up, it's a rookie quarterback. It's a defense that, it's a good defense, but, the trenches, there's still some needs there. You get one more offseason to really make it right. I think you could certainly make the argument to keep Flus with that for sure.
I think that right now, I got to go with you. It's slightly below lukewarm. I think he was given a terrible situation, rookie head coach, didn't really know much better. Obviously, he was a fantastic defensive coordinator. We've seen that the defense has improved significantly. Like, you brought him in, he brought Monsters of the Midway football back. I think he made a mistake with Luke Getsy, rookie, head coach mistake. Also, there wasn't really anyone available during that time that really could have came in and filled that offensive coordinator role as strictly an offensive coordinator. A lot of offensive minds wanted to become head coaches. So Eberflus was like the best thing that you had. Still a younger guy. He's in his, I think he's in his late 50s, early 60s. So, he still has a lot of football left in him. Very wise, very smart. Understands what it takes to build a culture, though. And I think that's what's really special about him. This entire team, minus Cole Kmet, minus Jalen Johnson and Patrick Scales, if you really want to throw him in there, is all new players that weren't a part of the Matt Nagy era. So this is him. This is his team. You get rid of that head coach, you might upset a lot of people. I'm going with you. I think that it's lukewarm, but it's going to get hot if he's entering week 16 at like 7-8, or he's, playing 500 ball. This team has the 3rd easiest schedule in the NFL. You bring in the number 1 overall pick. You get lucky with Odunze. You have arguably the best defense in the NFL, young, a lot of longevity there, and you saw that improvement. You set the bar for yourself last year in the last 8 games. I think that he has to make the playoffs this year to stay safe. And if they get rid of him, there's going to be a lot of other people going with him, unfortunately. There's not going to be that guy that steps in. You're not going to throw Eric Washington in as, the new head coach, or Shane Waldron as the new head coach. Do you kind of feel the same about that, Jacob? Like, are you still sticking with 9-8, 9-8, no playoffs?
9-8, no playoffs. I mean, I'd be okay with, just because it's progress. And I think that's a key part of this is you're not probably realistically not a Super Bowl contender this year. It's 2025 that you're really looking to make that big move and make that big push, at least with this current window that they have right now. So, with that in mind, I think it's going to depend a little bit on, all right, how do you lose these games? And I'm with you. I mean, there isn't really, I like Shane Waldron a lot. I don't know necessarily if they'd look at him as an immediate, okay, just slide him in there. He's a head coach type of guy. Washington hasn't, been a defensive coordinator super long in the NFL. So, you're still looking at, relatively unproven. So I wouldn't say, I'd say 9-8 is probably,
it's safe spot.
Keep them. Yeah. Yeah.
And anything below, you're talking differently.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. No, I think that's super fair. You can't go out and make the improvements that you made with the number 1 overall pick and a guy that looks like Caleb Williams out of the gate and not win more than just one more game than last year. So I'm with you. So we're going lukewarm on Matt Eberflus's seat. Hot if below 9-8, fine if above 9-8. Okay. I think we're both in agreement with that. And let's hear it in the comment section too from everybody. Next guy we're going to talk about, though, the one that we're already saying we're building a statue for, has rebuilt this team over the last 3 years, Ryan Poles. But he could technically be on a hot seat. He's already gone through an offensive coordinator. He's ripped this roster down to the absolute. He's got his second quarterback. He's done everything. He was dealt a pretty bad hand. But is Ryan Poles' seat hotter than Matt Eberflus's, or do you think Ryan Poles is pretty safe?
I think Poles is pretty safe. I'm looking at it from, you have the same argument with a win and loss perspective, but part of Poles' job is also to set the franchise up for future success, not just immediate, short-term results. And I think with that, Poles has done a really good job setting up the Bears with a number 1 overall pick at quarterback, cost controlled for 5 years, one of the best quarterback prospects to enter the NFL in the 21st century. In addition to that, you've got a top 10 pick at wide receiver. You've got a handful of young talents who, are still developing. You've got some, good players, some veteran proven guys on decent deals. I think that Poles is really understanding these first 2 years, you're not going to compete. And the Bears didn't. I mean, he knew what he was getting himself into. And for him probably to be like, oh, yeah, the Bears will make the playoffs in 2022. I mean, he, realistically knew that wasn't going to be the case just because of what he inherited. But now you're looking at it as, okay, now all this stuff in practice, in theory, needs to start getting, put into practice. So if things totally fall apart, if the Bears somehow regress, then I think Poles' seat would definitely be hot. But I don't expect the Bears to regress. So there's no reason that they should. So I think he's pretty safe in the grand scheme of things. And it'd probably take just a disaster of a season, I think, to get him fired.
Isn't it amazing how, I believe a year and a half ago, people were coming for Poles too, along with Eberflus, saying get rid of this guy. Chase Claypool didn't work out. You got rid of Roquan Smith. And then we go 5-3 in the last 8, and everyone loves this guy. We're building statue for him. He picks Caleb Williams. The Carolina deal went well. I think this is a problem with Bears fans. I'm with you. His seat is beyond safe. He brought in a rookie head coach. Weren't sure how it was going to work out. It worked out pretty darn well. The record doesn't speak to it, but the culture, the players, the talent, the progression of these guys, it's done a fantastic job. And Poles obviously saw that coming from Kansas City, winning multiple Super Bowls and setting them up for success. He sees what it takes to build a winning ball club, and that's what makes Poles really special. And also, shout out to Ian Cunningham, too, for sticking around for another season, because Bears only get more picks the longer he sticks around. The one thing about Ryan Poles, though, is that he literally was dealt one of the worst financial cap books in recent NFL memory. He was given a team with no picks. He had nothing to work with. He had a few guys with big names that were selling tickets to get people in the stands, but that's not going to win them for the long term. You're going to lose fans over time. You keep losing. Poles was like, you know what? Let them go through the pain. And he said it so well. And I think Ryan Poles should have been a lawyer in previous life because he said, this is going to take 3 years. I'm telling you, like, I'm not saying this is an instant fix. I'm going to come in. I'm going to do everything. He's like, we're building through the draft. We're doing this thing. We're going to set up a dynasty and we're going to take back the North and never give it back. And I think that's what he's exactly done. And it takes a long time in the NFL, especially with the books that Ryan Pace left him.
Yeah.
Chase Claypool, obviously, that one just didn't work out. Every GM has a swing and a miss. Alex Leatherwood, that didn't work out, but that was a waiver claim. You have a couple other guys that just casually haven't worked out. People were mad about Nate Davis and all that other stuff. That's not a Poles thing. Poles brought him in for the talent. Nate Davis just had some personal issues, but he's back on the field and he looks good so far. I think Poles is the safest general manager in all the city of Chicago right now. Like, if he gets a chance to get a different head coach, that doesn't work out, then absolutely cut, canned, see you later. But I'm with you, man. I like Ryan Poles a lot. I give him an A for the job he's done in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with you looking at it as, you know, he's the safest GM in Chicago, and that's not a really high bar, honestly, but at the same time, it's true. I think that no GM has set up his team quite like Poles has for, you know, not just immediate success, but long-term success as well. I mean, I guess we'll see with Kyle Davidson what happens with the Blackhawks. I mean, that's, you know, again, a pretty heavy rebuild that's going on over there. But yeah, I mean, I feel pretty confident saying Poles is the top guy as far as that, you know, those Chicago front office guys go.
So we're just both going to say Ryan Poles is beyond safe. Seat is not hot.
Yeah.
It is very cold. Would not want to sit on that seat because I'd be honored to sit in Ryan Poles' desk, though. I think he has a very cool office.
Oh, yeah.
So quickly, before we go into the last few subjects of today's episode, Jacob, what has been your favorite move this past offseason that isn't Caleb Williams that Ryan Poles has pulled?
Oh, man. Okay. I think I really like the Keenan Allen trade. I think that that's something where you look at it, you know, you trade a 4th round pick for him. I mean, and sure, it very well may end up being just a 1-year rental. I mean, you know, he's over 30 years old, but again, if you're going into it, you know, a couple days before the Bears ended up trading Justin Fields, like their mind had been made up at that point. You're not making that big of a trade if you don't know what you're going to be doing at quarterback when you hold that number 1 pick. Like, the destiny's in your hands. You know what you're doing. They wanted, and they did, get a Pro Bowl wide receiver, a guy who's one of the best route runners in the NFL, a consistent, proven veteran. They got him for their rookie quarterback. So not only do you have DJ Moore, not only did you have Cole Kmet, but you bring in Keenan Allen, and then, you know, inevitably you bring in Odunze in the draft as well. But I think that having a true security blanket like Keenan Allen for a relatively low price, I think that even if he stays in Chicago for just 1 year, I think it's going to be well worth that price, because what he can do to help Caleb Williams develop in that year 1, as well as what he can do to help Odunze get better at the wide receiver position, you know, that lead by example sort of thing, and being in the room with one of the smartest, one of the most precise separators in the game today. I think that can only benefit Odunze and obviously Caleb as well. So I think that was probably my favorite move. Even again, it's not a matter of, oh, is this going to help the Bears win the Super Bowl? I don't think anyone's really expecting that to be the case, but this is something that's really going to set up Caleb, set up Odunze, set up the offense then as a whole for future success. So Keenan Allen's probably my favorite move that they made. But yeah, no, I love the Odunze pick as well. I just remember I didn't think he was going to fall to 9. I thought someone was going to trade up to 8. And then once I heard, you know, Michael Penix going to Atlanta, I held my breath. I didn't check my phone for the spoilers. I heard it live, and I just lost my shit. So Odunze is a close second for non-Caleb moves. But yeah, Keenan Allen was a move I was just really a big fan of.
Totally agree. I was a big fan of Kevin Byard, too. You bring in a guy that's never missed a game, super solid safety, a big part that we missed last year. Eddie Jackson, you know, we loved him when he was good, but after he got paid was so. Yeah. Happy trails in Baltimore for him. But anyway, Kevin Byard but Keenan Allen, I literally was at dinner and I was with a couple of people who were talking about like things to do for the podcast and have it grow forward. I was like, hey guys, Venmo request me whatever the bill was. They're like, wow. I'm like, Keenan Allen just came to the Chicago Bears. I have to drive home and do a live stream. And I was home in 8 minutes. Definitely did some speed in there, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
But was really excited about it. I think that was a solid move for a 4th rounder to come on now. So we kind of hit on this earlier, Jacob. Just want to get into it a little bit more, maybe in a 2 or 3 minute breakdown from you. What does success mean in 2024 for the Chicago Bears? I know you kind of hit on it, but what to you means that it was a successful season?
Yeah, so I'd say, above 500. I think, like I said, that's the benchmark that you're looking at in Chicago. If you get above that, you're golden. If you're less than that, then it starts to be a little bit worrisome. But I think even more than that is good play from the young guys, good play from Caleb, good play from Odunze, good play from some of the offensive linemen, Darnell Wright, Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins even coming into his final year of his rookie deal. And cohesive play as a defense. I think that if you can carry on that momentum you had in the second half of the year, and if you can play like close to that level and keep that for an entire season, that's an above average defense. And I think with the pieces you have on offense, the Bears are set up to, in theory, succeed on the offensive side of the ball for some time, knock on wood. And then on defense, you've got the secondary, you've got some young guys up front. Still a little unproven, but I think it'd be a big success if at least one you come away with, Montez Sweat, but at least one of Gervon Dexter, Zach Pickens, Austin Booker, any of those guys on the defensive line saying, all right, this is a building block, not just an okay starter, but this is a guy who can start on the defensive line for years to come. We can extend him. We can pay him good money. And we don't have to worry about this position for a while. So I think that'd be success for Chicago. Ultimately, some things might change here or there, but I think that it really comes down to how do the young guys look, because you have these veteran pieces in place. In theory, you should know what to expect from DJ Moore, from Montez Sweat, from Jalen Johnson, TJ Edwards, Keenan Allen. But some of the younger guys, you don't necessarily know as well what they're going to be doing. So I think if the young guys look good and the team's above 500, then that's an absolute win in my book.
Hey, I love it. I think that the young guy success absolutely sets us up for that longevity. Like I was kind of saying before, you deal with 2 bad years. You have a pretty good year the 3rd year, but then you have success for 10. I'd pay for that any day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
For me, though, success to me is sweeping Green Bay.
Oh,
it is sweeping Minnesota and winning one again. I don't care if the Bears go 7 and, obviously I want them to win. We talked about what keeps Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles safe. As long as you are winning the North, that is a big thing for me. I want the Bears. I think 10-7 is a very, very possible record situation.
Oh, yeah.
I said 12-5 a couple of days ago, depending on how some games may lean. But success to this team, you could be 2-15 as long as those 2 wins are against the Green Bay Packers. That's what Bears fans want. Obviously, they want more than that, but I think that would be a successful situation. Even 1 win, especially at home, you want people to go to Soldier Field. It's a little bit colder. Week 11 when the Packers come to town. It's first NFC North game. You want the Bears to be good. You want to be able to pay for that ticket and you get a win out of it. Yeah. That's success there too. On top of that, DJ Moore and Rome Odunze working really well. We're not sure if Keenan's going to be here next year. So you want to see that longevity because those are your 2 wide receivers for at least the next 4 years. And then finally, I think for me is just you are competing to the very end of every game. You're not getting blown out at halftime. You're not looking at, that case of beer and at halftime trying to go through 15 in 15 minutes. You're trying to, and I know sometimes you do that when you celebrate too, Jacob. It's a lot of fun, but just over, you know what I mean? Like that's success to me.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And, what last thing I'll touch on is I think that in the NFC North, I think that's where the toughest task is going to be. They've got the 49ers on schedule. They've got the Rams, both of those teams. The 49ers will make the playoffs. Rams will be in the mix there. Seahawks could push for a wild card spot. But it's really going to be the NFC North where most of the competition is going to be, where most of those hard-fought games are going to be. I think if they go 3-3 or better in the NFC North, then the Bears make the playoffs. That's what I think, because you've got these, you've got some games like, Washington, Arizona, New England, a handful of those games where, in theory, they should be wins, a handful of toss-ups, and then you go 3-3. You're looking at a pretty easy 9-8 at least. And, you win a couple of those toss-ups, you're talking 10-7, maybe even more. So I think if the Bears go 3-3 in the NFC North, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, they split last year with the Lions. The Bears were worse than they are this year on paper. They won a game against the Vikings too. So it really comes down to, can they sweep Minnesota? Can they take one against Detroit? If they can take one again, even just one against Green Bay, it's been 2018.
It's been too long. Don't say the year. You don't have to. It's been too long.
Yeah. It's a miracle I haven't blown my brains out at this point. It's tough. So,
well, I got to call me if you ever get to that point, Jacob. I think a lot of us have been to in that situation. But Jacob, obviously a very fun season ahead. Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus look to be safe in our eyes unless things go very, very wrong very, very quickly. But it's going to be a good season, a successful season, and we're excited to see it. Jacob, I got you everything in the description for people to go and find you. Great content from Jacob Infante. But Jacob, thank you for coming on, man. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
All right. And with that, thank you as always for this episode of Just Another Year in Chicago. My name is Nick Brody, joined alongside special guest Jacob Infante, and we will see you guys next time. Bear down, baby.